Let's open the meeting. Cool. Here we go. The notice requirements provided in the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied. Notice of this meeting was properly given in the new schedule of meetings of the Spotswood Borough Council on December 27, 2017. The new schedule was transmitted to the Home News Tribune and Sentinel. It was filed with the clerk of the Borough of Spotswood and posted in the municipal building located at 77 Summerhill Road, Spotswood, New Jersey. And let's get a salute to the flag and a moment of silence. For the moment of silence, I'd just like you to keep the deaths in Florida, the children who were slaughtered in their high school, and their families in your prayers, and the families of and the students who witnessed that. As well as we lost 2 local residents. Robert Maglies died on Tuesday. He is a property owner here in town for a long time. And we lost Marilyn Gertrude Meyer Crandall, 82 years old, who was the mother of a longtime borough council, borough employee. So please keep them in your thoughts and your minds and your prayers during the moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Councilman Stolen?
Here.
Councilman Ritchie?
Here.
Councilman Malillo?
Here.
Councilman Rivera?
Here.
Council President Rhodes?
Here.
Mayor Sealy?
Here.
We had resolutions on the consent agenda. Council President and council members, I would like to have a vote to accept resolutions 2018-46 through 2018-52.
Motion to move the resolutions?
Second. Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilman Ritchie?
Yes.
Councilman Malillo?
Yes.
Councilman Rivera?
Yes.
Council President Rhodes?
Yes.
We have proclamations.
You know what, I'd just like to say a few words. Today, we did pass a resolution opposing the legalization of recreational marijuana, and I've got to commend the members of, my fellow members of the council, because Councilman Ritchie first raised the issue, I think, 3 or 4 meetings ago, because we had the election of the governor, who stated that he was for legalization. And then we had John Malillo make a statement also the next meeting, saying he opposed it. And actually, Councilman Stolen went out and did some research and actually formulated the resolution. And I'd like to have Councilman Stolen read that resolution to you tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Mark.
Here it is.
Okay. I got a dry one.
My water bottle leaked in my car.
Marge said was true. Councilman Ritchie made an impassioned speech about marijuana and making it that we wouldn't sell it in town, and John Malillo said the same thing. I had seen other counties and towns starting to pass those types of resolutions, but I said, why don't we do something where before we even get to that point? I think it's ill-advised, and I did some research, not having any experience with it myself, and I figured let's take a look at Colorado. They already did it, and what I found was pretty disturbing. So, whereas recent public statements from Governor Phil Murphy and some state legislatures have been in favor of the legislation for recreational marijuana within the first 100 days of the new governor's term. Whereas under the Federally Controlled Substance Act of 1970, it remains illegal to possess, use, sell, or cultivate marijuana for recreational purposes in United States jurisdictions. And whereas the state of Colorado legalized recreational marijuana in 2012, and in the years since, Colorado has seen increases in marijuana-related traffic deaths, poison control calls, and emergency room visits. The marijuana black market has increased and not decreased in Colorado. The effects of the legislation continue to build and to date include marijuana-related traffic deaths when a driver was positive for marijuana more than doubled from 55 deaths in 2013 to 125 in 2016. Colorado's youth marijuana use is the highest in the nation, 55% higher than the national average. Drug-related student suspensions and expulsions increased 32% for the school years 2008-9 to 2012-13, with a majority for marijuana violations. Colorado college-age past month marijuana use for 2014-15 was 61% higher than the national average. College students with access to recreational cannabis on an average earn lower grades and fail classes at a higher rate. In 2013, 48.4% of Denver adult arrestees tested positive for marijuana, a 16% increase from 2008. From 2011 through 2013, there was a 35% increase in marijuana-related emergency room visits and hospitalizations related to marijuana. And marijuana has increased, let's see, there's a comma there. Increase in marijuana-related emergency room visits and hospitalizations related to marijuana has increased 72% since 2008. Whereas recreational marijuana is specifically designed to have as much THC as possible, and THC is known to impair physical function in the user, including reaction time while operating a vehicle and the user's ability to perceive danger. Whereas New Jersey has a standard established for driving while intoxicated, 0.08% blood alcohol level. However, since THC is known to stay in the person's system for up to 30 days, there's no current test or standard established for operating a motor vehicle under the influence of marijuana, making enforcement difficult. Now therefore be it resolved that the Borough Council members of the Borough of Spotswood oppose the legalization of recreational marijuana. We believe such legalization is a great risk to our citizens' quality of life. The true impact of legal recreational marijuana is only beginning to be learned. At a time when society is battling many drug addictions and abuse, it is no time to increase access and provide another drug avenue for our youth and young adults to experiment with. Be it further resolved that certified copies of this resolution shall be made available to Governor Phil Murphy, members of the New Jersey General Assembly, and the New Jersey State Senate and New Jersey League of Municipalities. That pretty much says it all, but I did find one other paragraph I'd like to read. This is from the National Institute of Health. It was written by 3 doctors, and this is just a conclusion of a report they had done. Marijuana use has been associated with substantial adverse effects, some of which have been determined with high level of confidence. Marijuana, like other drugs of abuse, can result in addiction. During intoxication, marijuana can interfere with cognitive function, memory, and perception of time, and motor function, as in coordination. And these effects can have detrimental consequences, such as motor vehicle accidents. Repeated marijuana use during adolescence may result in long-lasting changes in brain function that can jeopardize educational, professional, and social achievements. However, the effects of a drug, legal or illegal, on an individual's health are determined not only by its pharmacological properties, but also by its availability and social acceptability. In this respect, legal drugs like alcohol and tobacco offer a sobering perspective, accounting for the greater burden of disease associated with drugs, not because they are more dangerous than illegal drugs, but because their legal status allows for more widespread exposure. As policy shifts towards legalization of marijuana, it is responsible and probably prudent to hypothesize that its use will increase, and that by extension, so will the number of persons for whom there will be negative health consequences. And from what I've read, the real negative health consequences are youth. Their brains, I mean, it is a drug that is taken to have changes in your brain. And it does make changes, especially in the youth. It has lasting effects. Their table of effects, they have overall level of confidence. And these have been, it's like, how sure are they of this occurring? And addiction to marijuana and other substances is high. Abnormal brain development, progression to other drugs, schizophrenia, depression or anxiety are medium. High is also diminished lifetime achievement, motor vehicle accidents, symptoms of chronic bronchitis, and lung cancer. Well, lung cancer is low. The other 3 were high. So.
Thank you, Kurt. So I'm very proud of the members of this council who have come out early against this. And as the nurse on the council, I'm the one that sees those people that can initiate with marijuana and develop other addictions as a result, and then they come into my emergency room and we have to treat them. And we at St. Peter's see all too often the opioid overdoses that start with a gateway drug and then lead to worse things. And so I'm glad to do this. I'm glad that we've done it, and I want to thank the members of this council for being proactive and, putting our mouth where our potential revenues would have been, right? If we had.
Our money where our mouth is.
Yeah.
And as parents, I think we owe it to young couples that are having children to give them every tool they can to try to help prevent their children from having lasting damage.
Right, right. Okay. Let's do the proclamations. And I have a letter here from ShopRite. And Kurt, I'm going to have you read the first one. Spotswood ShopRite, actually, they do National Hunger Action Month last September. They ask you if you want to contribute for money that they then distribute to the food pantries throughout the state. And actually, I was there a couple years ago when we distributed to not Elijah's Promise, the Cup Food Pantry downtown here. And so they had two people who really spearheaded the collecting of the donations at the Spotswood ShopRite, and they were one of the winning stores. Through the collection of donations at checkout and creative in-store events, stores in 6 states raised $1.47 million to support the food banks in the communities that the ShopRite is in, and we are one of them. So they're having a celebration on March 22nd at 11 o'clock to honor those two associates who were the winning people that brought in the most money, and they are actually on a special edition Cheerios box. So their pictures are on the back of the Cheerios box along with the other associates from the other stores. So we're very proud. Our store is very proactive, and they give the money right back into the local community. So go ahead and read that.
Okay. Whereas food is a substance by which life is sustained, and whereas the type, quality, and amount of food that individuals consume each day plays a vital role in their overall health and physical fitness. And whereas there is a need for continuing nutrition education and wide-scale effort to enhance healthy eating practices. And whereas our local partners in nutrition at the ShopRite of Spotswood are happy to help our citizens make appropriate choices to enhance their well-being. Now therefore, Ed Seeley, Mayor of the Borough of Spotswood, together with our governing body, do hereby proclaim the month of March National Nutrition Month in Spotswood, New Jersey. And I encourage all citizens to join the campaign and become concerned about their nutrition and the nutrition of others in the hope of achieving optimum health for both today and tomorrow.
That National Nutrition Month, their theme is Go Further with Food. So what you put into your body matters. The next resolution, the next proclamation is about registered dietitian nutritionists. I work with many of these people at the hospital, and they are just terrific. They can guide people as to what they need to eat or how they eat, and give them good counsel and advice, and really help them back to health after an illness. So whereas registered dietitian nutritionists are the food and nutrition experts who can translate the science of nutrition into practical solutions for healthy living, and whereas registered dietitian nutritionists have degrees in nutrition, dietetics, public health, or related field from well-respected accredited colleges and universities, completed an internship, and passed an examination. And whereas registered dietitian nutritionists use their nutrition expertise to help individuals make unique, positive lifestyle changes. And whereas registered dietitian nutritionists work throughout the community in hospitals, schools, public health clinics, nursing homes, fitness centers, food management, food industry, universities, research, and private practice. And whereas registered dietitian nutritionists are advocates for advancing the nutritional status of Americans and people around the world. Now, therefore, I, Ed Seeley, Mayor of the Borough of Spotswood, together with our governing body, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, March 14th, 2018, Registered Dietitian Nutritionist Day in Spotswood, New Jersey, and I encourage all citizens to recognize the contributions of all registered dietitian nutritionists, and in particular, Mary Rose Agel, RDN of ShopRite of Spotswood, our local partner in nutrition, and and express appreciation for their commitment to promoting science-based nutrition in the hope of achieving optimal health for both today and tomorrow, dated February 21st, 2018, Mayor Ed Seeley. And Mary Rose is amazing. We have worked with her many times. We've gone over to ShopRite to do screenings in education. My nursing staff does that. You know, we do blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol. And Mary Rose is right there with us, counseling the patients that we see over there. So she is amazing. And John, the last proclamation about Youth Art Month.
Yeah. Youth Art Month, Power of Art. Whereas the education contributes powerful educational benefits to all elementary and middle and secondary students. And whereas these benefits include developing students to creative problems, solving a critical thinking abilities, teaching sensitivity and beauty and order, and other expensive qualities in giving students a deeper understanding of multicultural values and benefits, reinforcing and bringing to life and students learn an order of subjects, and interrelating students learning in art, production in art history and art criticism and ethics. And whereas our national leaders have acknowledged the necessity, including art experience in all students' education, and whereas the support should be given to the art teachers as they attempt to strengthen art education in their schools and communities. Now, therefore, to be resolved that I, Ed Seeley, Mayor of Borough of Spotswood, in the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, together we are Borough Council to do their proclamation, and recognize the march of the observing the Youth Art Month, and urge all citizens to take an interest in giving full support to the quality of schools' art programs for the children and youth. Ed Seeley, Mayor.
Thank you, John. Thank you.
Let's get to this.
Any and all reports. John, you want to start? Do you have any comments?
What's this, the liaison?
Yep,
Not
liaison.
this week, not this meeting. I'll have some.
Okay.
Oh, well, wait, well, excuse me. Oh, yeah. I don't want to forget the February 10th at the EMS. Fabulous building. First class. Can't be any better. That's going to last a lifetime. Hope there's no tragedies. That'll last a lifetime, believe me. Well put together building. Anybody didn't see that building over there? Terrific. It's a terrific building, put together, beautiful. You go in there, it's like, you know, brand new out of the showroom. Fantastic. They did a great job over there. And those kids, those people over there, the EMSs and the Ts, they're doing a good job over there too. That keeps them, you know, makes them feel good too, besides doing their work. So, great job on the EMS, really.
Good. Thank you, John. Kurt?
I just have something, Spotswood in the news. Our neighboring community, Monroe, puts out a monthly or quarterly paper, and they printed a chart of Middlesex County municipalities' equalized taxation value. They're very proud of that because they moved to the bottom of the list from a higher rating before. There were 3, now they are just 1 from the bottom. Cranberry is the lowest, Monroe is next. We, unfortunately, have moved from number 7 from the highest to number 4. So we are 4th down. Dunellen, Jamesburg, and Highland Park are the only ones higher than us with an equalized tax value. That equalizes the property values and the current evaluations to give us a level playing field of where we are tax-wise. And putting that in perspective, it also stated in here, our median household income for a household, not individuals in the household, the median household income for our town, $74,696. So something to consider with I think the school budget, we've been pretty flat the past several years. The school budget certainly has pumped us up to a higher level recently with the bond ordinances that were passed, but so we have to see where we are, but that's something that we have to watch.
Thank you, Kurt. Ted?
Nothing this evening.
Okay, Jose?
This evening.
I just wanted to echo what John said about the EMS open house. We probably had about 40 people come throughout the rainy afternoon, but it certainly, the building was sparkling. They had most of the staff there. Dave Nichols, the director, was there. And we have some great pictures, Vashti, for you, if you're interested, of Mayor Sealy with all of the staff. And they were very good about giving tours and explaining all the things that the EMS personnel do besides rescue you at your home. And the equipment, actually, it was funny because all 3 rigs were out on the road answering calls. So it just showed everyone how busy we can be. And I wanted to commend, I did see Dave Nichols yesterday, and I did tell him he had a well orchestrated event, and it was fairly well attended. I went to a Friends of the Office on Aging meeting today, and I want to commend Donna Falconberry for the great job she's doing down there, the director. They actually applauded her and her efforts as part of the meeting, and it was nice to hear and nice to see. So congratulations, Donna. And then John and I actually met with the firehouse, at the firehouse with some firemen, the firehouse leadership last Tuesday night, and spent some time with them talking about different equipment needs that they have. And true passion for them. Some of those members that we met with have been firemen for 35, 40 years in the borough, and they continue to care at such a high level. It's just amazing to me to see the volunteers that we have in this community and how it enhances the entire community. Mayor Sealy, comments?
My turn?
Yes.
Well, let's start off with the good news. Today we received news from the Transportation Trust Fund that we received the Transportation Trust Fund grant for $490,000 for Brunswick Avenue.
Tax dollars coming into town, right?
Yes. A great many residents have already noticed. If you haven't, we have begun to clean up on DeVoe Lake.
Yes.
That's being done in-house. The majority of this, well, all of this work right now currently is being done with grant money. So employee cost, everything, grant money. So it's not an additional cost to our taxpayers this year. It's money that we should have utilized before and we are utilizing now. Along with that, I made a phone call today to Senator Greenstein, Assemblyman D'Angelo, and Assemblyman Benson, and request that they come on down and take a look at the projected site, because I believe Jose has made me aware of the EP funding, that they now have some possible dredging money. Because what we're doing is called the cleanup, not dredging, because you can't use that word. And we could use their assistance since they've promised to do so in the past. And I know that Senator Greenstein herself has been working on it with another issue with someone down south, and I'm sure I will hear from her rather quickly, as I know she's interested in helping us get this done. Other news, I can't go on about the EMS opening. Everybody covered that. It was very nice, miserable, rainy day, but it was a good event. And as the one thing that wasn't mentioned here at the open session, it was mentioned yesterday, I believe, but during that open house, unfortunately, everybody had to wait a while to talk to the EMTs because we had 3 units go out, which is always a good thing. It means it's working. And on the last, I received an email from a resident expressing concerns that are out of our realm, and I directed them, I'm sorry, Dulce, to the Board of Ed, because they were looking to find out what spots we would do about putting an officer in every single school. So I said that was done by the school board because they handle that, and that they might want to attend their meeting and discuss it with them. Okay, because they brought up East Brunswick, and I happen to know East Brunswick's thing is done through the Board of Ed as well, and I believe it's done with retired officers as well. If I'm not mistaken, they're a little different than us.
Good.
And that's it for me.
Talk to the chief today.
Well, I can understand that person's concern, especially concerning the events that have happened nationally in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, I do have one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
On the flip side of your resolution, I was in Trenton this weekend, attending a session on the legalization of marijuana. I would have to say that this was just an informative thing, so we can find out, and as you said, the doctors made certain statements to you. Well, the doctors on this side made certain statements as well. It's going to be one of those battles. It was more emphasized towards medical use at this time. This particular session. They did make some brief remarks about the legalization, but they're looking actually to even go further and change the term from recreational to adult use, which is just mere words. And nobody knows how far it's going to go. I heard from law enforcement that was there. I heard from a few doctors that were there. I can't debate the medical use at all. The medical use is astounding. It does tremendous things for cancer patients.
I agree.
The biggest problem for them in the medical end only is Big Pharma, of course, because Big Pharma makes no money off that, meaning big pharmaceutical companies. Hope they heard me out there in TV land. But I plan on attending a little more sessions. I want to get a little more info on it, just for general knowledge, because it's better to have all the info you can rather than make a decision hastily. I applaud the council for the decision they made opposing it. It's a strong opinion. They're not the first to do it. I believe Point Pleasant did it as well, and a couple other towns, right? Am I correct? So that's it for me. I'm done.
Thank you, Mayor. And I got to say, I actually had Jose, who is our EOM coordinator also, as well as a councilman, sent me pictures from when they started doing the cleaning up of the lake, because that's the first time I've seen any work done on that lake, probably in 3 decades.
Well, I should say, take note to the residents, it's not going to clean up overnight, so don't think you're going to walk out there next Monday and see a nice flat grassy area with picnic trees and flowers and fish jumping. It's going to take us a little bit, but when we're done, I promise you we're going to work towards making this the centerpiece of our town.
That's terrific. Very good. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mayor. Do we have a motion to open to the public?
Make a motion, we open to the public.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye. And at this time, we're open to any comments from anyone here who would like to come up to the mic. Just state your name and address.
Donna Falconberry, 467 Adirondack Avenue. Okay, so I'm here on behalf of the Spotswood Office on Aging. We are trying to bring new things to the center, and I was given the opportunity from, he's actually a friend of mine, but he teaches a class for Osher Learning Institute at Rutgers that is it's actually a 5-week course on Gettysburg, and I'm going to read the course description so you know what this is about. It's called Gettysburg, A Turning Point in American History. This course will analyze the events of July 1863 surrounding the Battle of Gettysburg. Topics for discussion will include reasons leading to the battle, the different aspects of the 3 days fighting in and around the Pennsylvania town of Gettysburg, a look into the personalities of some of the major participants, issues of leadership and controversies that affected both armies, and the plight of the town's civilians during the battle. He has offered to teach this class at the Senior Center for interested residents. This is an academic-based course. It is a lecture series. It is PowerPoint. So it is not your typical 45-minute presentation, very, it's more generic, and it's meant for a broader audience. This is truly for those history buffs. It is for those who are Civil War enthusiasts. So what I'm doing tonight, I'm introducing it to you tonight for anyone that's here, for anyone that's watching, and then of course we will also put out email blast on our Facebook page and speaking to the seniors about if there's an interest in anyone taking this class, this course. It would be free to any Spotswood resident who's registered with our center. We would pay him as the instructor, but anyone attending the class, it would be 5 weeks, an hour a week. Day of the week, time not established yet. We're just trying to figure out if there's enough of an interest to offer this. So we're asking anyone who thinks they may want to take the course to just give our office a call. We'll just take your name. There's no commitment at that point. It's just, just to find out if there's enough out there. We were looking for at least 10 people to attend the course. So the number of the office is 732-251-3432. Please give us a call, because if we get enough interest, we would love to offer this to our residents. I'm kind of a history buff, so I would love, I actually got a chance to go and sit in on one of the classes. He gave me an opportunity to see that. He's a Spotswood resident. It's Bill Kraus. He is retired chief of police from East Brunswick, but has gone to Gettysburg, I want to say at least 100 times, and has taken courses to teach on this particular topic. So he's very, very good, very engaging, very informative, and it is a fascinating topic, as you can imagine. So please, if you're interested, give us a call. We would love to bring this to the seniors. Thank you.
Terrific.
Would that only be for seniors, not high school students or anything like that?
It's going to be during the day,
okay.
So, yeah, but it would, I mean, you know, I would say at this point only seniors. I don't know if if he would be able to do it after school or anything like that, but.
It is a very interesting topic. There was a PBS show some time ago called The Address, where they had students from a educational challenged school, and they learned the Gettysburg Address, and then they took them out there to see it. After I saw that, I had to go visit myself. And
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see the site and the cyclorama, and to see buildings that stood at the time that they had it and what had happened.
If you've ever visited Gettysburg, it is profound. It's profound. So, and it is something we should never forget. Obviously, it's quite a divisive time in our country, probably the most. I think I'm hoping. I love the idea of continuing to learn in any capacity that you can. And so if we can do this, if we can get enough people interested, I would love to bring that here. So let me know.
Could you repeat the telephone number?
Absolutely. 732-251-3432. Okay, so please spread the word. And if anyone, all you need to do is give us a call. If we get enough, it will happen.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come up to the podium? Hi, Jackie.
My mother out of the way. Jackie Palmer, 9 Shupin Street. So it's nice to see everybody again today. Last night, after I left the budget workshop, and I start to think about all the numbers that we talked about and
Right.
the tax points that we discussed. Can you tell me what was the cost to the taxpayers for the EMS for 2017? So I know it wasn't zero.
500? Oh, for 500? Oh, that's going to be next year, 560,000?
It would just be their line item budget, which is salary and wages, and their operating expenses.
Jackie, I'm sorry, all my stuff is out in the car. I didn't
I
bring
think
it
I brought it
in.
with me. There are other expenses, as you know from being on the committee, that are charged to other areas of the budget. The salary and wages, it was $321,497. Other expenses, $79,556.
So roughly 4-ish.
400, we call it 400.
And what did we take in? From revenue?
276.
276, so
Yep.
So it really cost the taxpayers last year $124,000,
24,000?
$25,000, right? So when I asked the question last night about the tax points, the tax point that was given was on the total amount of 284,000, right? That's the 560,000 that we're increasing the budget
right.
to, less the 276 revenue, right? Which was 284,000. And that was 2.3 tax points. But that's not really a true statement, because 120, we already pay 125,000 of that. So it's really 284 minus what we currently pay for taxes.
Oh, as an
It's
increase.
as an increase, right? So we
Right.
can't say that it's a 2.3 increase to the taxpayers for EMS. That's not
Right.
true.
It's perception. Yeah.
Right.
That's the tax, that's what it is to run at the department for next year.
But what I'm saying to you is we already pay a cost currently to run that department.
Right.
So it's not, we can't
new
say to the
cost.
public that, well, out of the 5 points that we're raising your taxes, 2.3 of it is for EMS. That's not true. because we already pay, the taxpayers are already fronting $124,000 in our current tax bill, right, to support EMS.
So it's an increase above that.
Yes, it is an increase. So it's 284 minus the 124. That becomes what your increase, that is what you should be telling taxpayers, that you're increasing our tax rate by.
Well, and
For
actually,
EMS.
there's more numbers there because I asked for this today. I want to get all the numbers. I want debt service, utilities, workers' comp, health care, and pension costs, which is not in that number. So it will be higher than that. It will go up from that increase.
Well, you have to look at it across the board. We're asking, or you're potentially, administration is asking for almost 5 points, right? Which roughly is $350,000 or $400,000, right?
361.
361.
Right.
So $361,000, but that's not, so 2.6% of that, or whatever, 2.6 or 2.3 points of that is not all EMS. It's spread across all different departments. And as I listened yesterday to, we're increasing this by 4,000, we're increasing that by 4,000, we're decreasing this. Again, for someone who's listening to, and this is one of the issues I have with budget workshops, you have the paperwork. You're going through your line items,
You're
you're
right.
saying line 6, line 12, and you're talking about it. For the public, I don't know what you're saying. I don't know what you have. I don't know what last year's was. I mean, I could pull last year's, but it doesn't necessarily match what you have. By the time I get to see that budget, you guys are already voting on it and have made your decisions on what's going to happen. So my input is irrelevant because you've already had all the time in the world to look over it and make your discussion. So for the taxpayers who actually foot the bill, the majority of them, we don't have a decision-making point to make. And we have to rely on the fact that, you know, what you said to me yesterday, or what the CFO said, was it was a 2.3 increase based on, I asked what's driving the 5% or the 5 points.
Right.
And the answer was 2.3 of it is EMS. Well, no, and actually, I know numbers, and I last night I was running them, and I'm like, something's not right because we currently pay for EMS regardless.
Right.
So if we're going to compare, and we've done this before, compare apples to apples. And Kurt, you're right. There are other pieces in the puzzle that go to other places, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where your cost is running up. You need to take the total amount, and the total, we still pay those insurances. We currently pay those today as taxpayers.
Well, they all went up because of the increase in salaries and wages.
But we had increases in salaries across the board.
Well,
that
these were-
decisions were made. So when we're talking about that, and we're talking about pinching pennies and looking at a year that's very significant, we have made some very poor financial decisions across the board financially for salaries and wages across the board. I'll leave it at that. So when you're going to sit there and try and point the finger at one department, there are some other pieces of the puzzle that fall into that as well.
I got to get that explained because the sheet that we have says salary and wages are up $135,000 for EMS. Revenue is down $26,000. Net effect is $161,000 or 2.37%. So let's get that figured out. I'll find out what the details are behind that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, because I'd like to see it myself. I would like to know what's our current cost, what did it cost us in 2017 to run that department? What was the cost to the taxpayers? And now you have to back that cost out, because we're already paying that. We already have that. You're not lowering my taxes. We're not zeroing it back out and saying, oh, you know, EMS did not zero out last year. We know that. We paid for that. So what's the increase on top of what we paid for? That's the number, that's the tax point I want.
Right. But
Not the
Jack,
total tax point. I get it. It's all in semantics. I understand that.
what came across to me, though, was the decrease in the volume of calls, and that is very concerning compared to what we studied on the
Yep.
committee and the trend we had. That was a big drop. That
And do
was
we know
almost-
why that was?
They're saying, well, we had some situations in February of last year
Yes.
where we didn't have enough staff.
That's correct.
Yeah, and we had to outsource to other
Right,
departments.
and we remember that, right.
Yeah,
There was,
so
and
that
there was a
was-
lot of calls that we outsourced to East Brunswick.
Right, and
But
did-
I didn't think it was, 300 calls.
No. So Dave had said, I think he said 50-something.
What was the total number of calls? Dawn, do you
900.
remember?
I did not bring down.
I know we were talking 912 in Spotswood, right?
913 for Spotswood.
What was total? Because that 1,400 was total.
It was somewhere in the mid-12s for
1218.
everything.
Okay, so it's not a huge, it was 14 and change total.
Right.
So we're talking 100 and some odd calls, which essentially could have been,
Maybe 200, yeah.
right, could have been January, February, March of last
Yeah,
year when we were
yeah.
struggling.
You know
Yeah.
what's really troubling? We only received this report last night, just at the time of the meeting, and I went through it a little bit today. Out of those 913 calls in Spotswood, and I'm concerned about the calls in Spotswood, because that's why we pay for that service. The other ones are just maybe to help collect some revenue. The 201 of those calls were canceled. They're listed as canceled in some fashion, mechanical canceled or other canceled. So we really responded to 712 in town for that much money.
And we don't bill for RMA, not in town. We don't bill anything
Asked
in
Dave
town.
that
Do we?
last night, and he said no.
Right. Do we bill for RMA
Consider in
outside?
the future.
For residents?
You call for an ambulance and then you cancel the ambulance.
Well, sometimes they don't, I mean, they don't, I don't
might
know
not
of
be the ones
anybody that
calling.
calls back and says, I'm not
They're
canceling.
not calling for it. Police may, they may get a call and they just dispatch right away. Then they get there and they say, well, I didn't need that.
Right, it could be a car accident and everybody gets dispatched, and then when you get there, it's like, oh,
It may be worth looking at
Yeah.
individual basis to see how that can,
right.
we're sending a crew out there.
I mean, I'll say
If
this,
you're calling for the ambulance and then you cancel the ambulance when they get there, there's no reason why you shouldn't get billed for
right,
that.
right,
I understand the police call for the ambulance, for the
Right.
car wreck, nobody's hurt, nobody wants an ambulance, it's going back.
right.
But if you're calling for it and then you're, when they get there, nah, I don't want to go, you just took the crew out of service to bring them out there.
I agree.
Here's your bill.
I agree. I mean, and I think this is part of the reason that the committee had recommended staying intact throughout this transition period, is to really still be able to look at all of these things that are going on, right? So all of that, and I realize that that was a decision that was made, from the administration that, our
By the
service was
director as
finished.
well.
No, and I understand, listen,
His
I
choice.
get it.
I left it open to him because he
No,
runs it.
I get it, but this is again where now there's questions, there's concerns about it, it should still be continued to be looked at and kind of looked over.
Oh, I got to tell you, Dave's on notice. He knows that he's got to cross his Ts and dot his Is and keep good reports so that we are tracking this, because this is something that is it's a big cost
Sure.
to the town. And we did decide to keep it local. And so you've got a lot of us up here that are concerned and are tracking what's happening down there.
Right,
The reality is this year is truly a work in progress.
absolutely. It's a couple years before you can realize with the shambles that we know it was in, and in reality, right, what we've seen of what it costs, to even $284,000 is a steal for us to be able to
Well,
provide
actually,
that
Jackie,
service.
for $300,000, we could have washed our hands of all the personnel issues, car crash issues, and we would have had unlimited amount of crews for calling, and we would have had no liability. And we right now have a system with all Band-Aid rigs. They're all got to be replaced, and that's going to be a huge expense as well. So we are at the cost of what the RFP was for Robert Wood Johnson now, and it's only going to go up from here.
Robert Wood Johnson didn't want the job after
did.
that's all you had, and we could go back and rehash this from 2 years ago, but the
Their
reality was
RFP
they didn't rebid on it.
Well,
Why?
After the huge outcry that we had, we said no until we had a question, and that's where that went. But they were at $300,000 at that point.
And we definitely, if St. Peter's came in at double that, almost, right, more than double.
And then we had
that,
somebody else
And
that
then we
came in.
had a company that nobody's ever heard of before, right, which, again, is not the choice.
Can I intervene just a little?
What's that?
Can I intervene just a little?
Absolutely.
It's really a futile debate right now because we're in the MS business. And as you said, it takes time to see if it worked. We discussed this last night. It takes time to make this work. And I don't, like you and like many sitting here in the diocese, don't see the answer coming within 1 year. But, we're going to try and make it work, so, I mean, the numbers game, we're going to have to find out and get your answers back to that. Other than that, there's no debate here about whether we're skipping, because as Councilman Stolen said, well, we could have did it for that. Yeah, but we could have did it for that, to be quite honest, with a company that's never done it in New Jersey before. That was my concern. I think I said that right from the very beginning. The other company that put the bid in, the only other company that put the bid in was St. Peter's, and their number was, if I remember correctly, somewhere like $776,000.
Six. Yep.
Well, just a higher number that was, if we were going to do that, why wouldn't we stay in business?
Yep.
But we need to sit down, readjust it, take a look at it, and just follow this and see that it works. That's all.
Right.
Just
And
that's all.
again, he may need help, right? He may need a little more support in helping with what's going on down there. EMS has always lived in a bubble, in our town for a long time. So I think that,
Jackie, he can call me at any time as liaison.
Absolutely.
And I've told him that over and over, as I did again last night. So, and I know I can reach out to the members of the committee who worked with me on that proposal. And I think, we have a new EMS building, we have a full-time director, we've given the raises. I mean, we've implemented probably 80% of what the council, the committee recommended.
Yep.
So I agree with Ed. I think it is a matter of time. What happened in the past is water under the bridge, and we move on and forward, and we made a commitment, and it is a work in progress.
No, and, well, I'm fully
Thank you
supportive
for
of it.
your support of it and your continued interest.
I just want to make sure that when we talk about tax points to the taxpayers,
It's
that
clear.
it is crystal clear.
Yeah.
We are not starting at zero. We already pay. So what is the difference between what we paid and what we're going to pay?
Yep.
That's the tax point increase, not
Right.
a total nut. So hopefully I explained that.
It'll be interesting
Right.
with volume decreases, though, because that directly impacts on the costs.
Absolutely, and if
So-
you're not bringing in the revenue, it absolutely is going to impact. But you know what? We have a lot of services in town that we don't charge for.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
actually, EMS is, I want to say, one of the only, right,
Brings in revenue.
that brings in
Correct.
service that brings in revenue. We don't charge for DPW unless we're doing it for an outside town. We don't charge for our police services.
Yeah, we do.
Well, we bring in court revenue.
No, radio dispatch services. We charge for radio dispatch services with Telmeta currently.
I mean, outside of towns. I'm saying our residents
I'm
don't
sorry.
pay
Okay.
for the service of the police department.
Oh,
They
no,
don't pay
residents don't.
for a service of the fire department. They don't pay for a service of DPW. So, and we
Yep.
don't charge them for EMS, but we provide those services without scrutinizing the way we are with EMS.
So Ed, you're on notice for your budget presentation to make that
You didn't think I
adjustment.
was going to be not on notice?
Thank you,
And I
Jackie.
didn't get to see the rest of it. That was all I remembered and I caught on, so
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Cheryl?
I want to say that.
Cheryl, can you just state your name and address?
Yeah, Cheryl Bass, 289 Main Street.
Thank you.
And I would like to say that what Kurt Stolen, Councilman Stolen, had read should be posted on the website for the town. I think it's very educational, informative. The residents, I'm quite certain, would be very interested in knowing the numbers.
Resolution will be.
The resolution will be.
Very good, very good. So just to come into Spotswood Borough and then to see this on the website, because
And the
it's...
council agendas.
Right, it would be excellent. I know it's on the television now, but to have it on the website as well. And I had gotten out of the library Business Week magazine. I wanted to read about the Federal Reserve. But in there also, they have an article, Pot Shops. There goes the neighborhood. And they're talking about lawsuits to restrict locations for marijuana businesses because property values near the marijuana shops is going down. So property values go down. That was in a business magazine. And I do want to say, because Councilman Malillo was talking about Youth Art Month, that the Vice President's wife, Karen Pence, she does art therapy for people who are traumatized. They went down to Puerto Rico, and she worked with the people who suffered damages from Hurricane Maria, and she does what is called art therapy, that people can express their emotions, their anguish in art, and she helps to heal them, in that way. So I'm very appreciative of hearing about the Art Month.
Thank you, Cheryl. I didn't know that.
Just in case you weren't here when we first talked about the marijuana being sold, one of the things in the proposed legislation was that they're going to give towns the ability to opt out of having it sold there. And that was what we talked about doing here on the first time out. The town elects to allow it to be sold, they would share in a portion of the tax. Or they can opt out and not get anything. And the proposal was to just opt out entirely. We're not there yet. This letter goes to the legislators to let them know that we're against it. If they do pass it, then we'll move to the next step.
I can't hear you.
Back again.
On the comment about revenue, if one person is hurt, is one person's health, if one person dies from marijuana, recreational use, no matter how much revenue comes in, you can't replace that life.
That's true.
That's the end of that.
Anybody else want to come up? Dan? Just state your name and address.
Dan Riley, 55 Red Bank Road. And I wanted to see if I could follow up on the progress of the drainage and paving of the, I guess, the section of town known as the Cottage Streets. Cottage Streets.
My nickname.
I was going to say, I've been here for just nearly 60 years. I've never heard it called that.
I created that affectionately.
Probably more towards, our side, the side I live on, because all them houses used to be bungalows, because your house is not a bungalow.
Well, not anymore,
Right.
but it used to be.
But that's why
Right,
they call it
all
cottage.
started that way, right?
Applebee bungalows.
So we are working on the plans. In fact, tonight I was speaking with Jerry Riccardi from JCP&L about relocating the poles and the process associated with that, because the pavement out there now is about 20 feet in width. We're going to have a 30-foot wide pavement with curbs, so all the poles have to be moved. So we are working on the plans. We have the layout for the roads done. Next step is to refine the drainage and the new water system, put that in front of the two utility companies. I'd like them to start scheduling the relocation of the poles based on a stakeout we do, and even see if the gas company will do that. They usually like to do it once curbs are in, but that will leave the project in a very disarrayed state for a very long time, which I'm trying to avoid. We're going to have DEP approvals and freehold soil approvals as part of this, which once we get the storm sewer design wrapped up, we'll submit to them. So we are rolling along with it.
What kind of time frame are we looking at?
It's going to depend on the utility companies as well. Mr. Riccardi gave me some time frames that didn't sound favorable. I told him that wasn't going to work, but
Bruce, move your phone away from the microphone.
The phones?
Or Ted's.
Yeah,
Now mine are moved over now.
yeah,
Better?
that is better.
Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that. Hoping to get DEP approvals by the end of summer, but DEP can take a long time. So I don't have an exact start date yet, but I'd like to see the utility relocations begin so that when we are ready for construction, we can come in and just not be delayed by that.
Okay. Then can we look at maybe milling and paving a couple of bad sections? that are
Disaster
just-
areas, the corner?
That is one substantially bad,
jeez.
but there's a
Yeah.
couple of them
We
that
can look at that, yes. We can look at
possibly we
repairing
can knock it down.
a hole so
and-
you're not losing your front end of your cars. Or maybe a kid somewhere in a hole.
It's too late for that. It's been that way for years.
But yes, we can, absolutely.
Okay. I'd also like to thank you guys for the work on the lake. It's been a long time in coming.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully, we can keep going.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else in the public would like to come up? Anyone? Oh.
Lillian Chinesco, 294 Woods End Court. I had just found out today about the feral cat population around Clearwater, that they had determined that there's about 8 feral cats, and some of the folks there had been feeding them. They've been asked not to feed them. We also found out that when they do capture a cat, they just release them right back into the woods.
Who captures the cat?
Excuse me?
Who captures the cats?
The animal control.
And then,
Are they spaying them?
Animal control was called about these cats, and they merely released them right back into the woods. They said if they were to keep them, the cat would stay in a little cage for the rest of their life. I don't know how long their life would be, or if they exterminate them in any way, or what they do with them. Other than, I just wonder if
Get
you
a
knew that
clarification of
the
the
cats
process.
are just released back into the woods.
I'll check into that with Ms.
okay,
Brunswick.
thank you. I'm just going to share, around my neighborhood, we had that issue probably 20 years ago, and it wound up that one of them had rabies and scratched a child, and actually, she had to get shots. So it is something that is concerning, especially if they're feeding them and they are wild. They can contract rabies and other diseases, so thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm not sure who told you that they capture them and then release them back into the woods?
Well, I was at a meeting today, and this discussion came up because they were advising the folks at the meeting not to feed these cats.
Absolutely, they
And they
should
did
not.
call animal control, and animal control just put them right back in the woods.
Huh.
Are they trapping them, neutering them, and then releasing?
However they're capturing them, I don't know. I don't know the details of that.
Some towns trap them, neuter them, and then release them again.
I don't know about the neutering, because there are some people in Clearwater who said they would adopt the cats, the pretty
how
ones, of
nice.
course. And but my concern is that we're paying for animal control.
Right,
And if they're
absolutely.
just putting them right back where they're,
That's defeating the whole purpose.
okay, I just wondered if you knew about that.
No, we'll find out. We'll have an answer for
Can I
you.
ask you a question?
Okay.
Sure,
Do you know
John.
anybody that's seen these animal control, they release them in the woods? Do you know anybody that's seen them do that?
I don't know.
You can take a picture of that when they do that. Take a
Well,
picture.
I don't see the cats because I'm not around to
No,
watch.
your friends. You're friends in the Clearwater.
I'll tell them about it.
If they get it on camera, you got them. Cameras don't lie.
They have been identified. 8 cats have been identified. Apparently, they're right back in the woods.
Well, we have to check into that because I really don't know if I know with raccoons it's legal to do that, but I don't know if it's legal to do that with feral cats. As I believe someone heard someone on the council mention that they generally do spay them, and if they do spay them, they will release them again because they
Would
try
you
to
know if they were spayed? Would you be charged for it, or does our payment to,
I would hope we're not being charged to spay feral cats.
excuse me?
I would hope we're not being charged to spay cats.
No.
But I think it has something to do with more with animal cruelty.
What is
I don't think they just kill animals.
our monthly payment
Why they can't? You gotta pay.
cover?
What are they releasing them for? Like
What
jerks?
is our monthly payment cover?
Just coverage during business hours. We pay additional if there's call-outs after hours.
So we're going to have to find out what exactly they do with the feral cats. Because we're unsure on that. I mean, I don't know. I know with
I don't know if they're spayed.
raccoons, they release them in the woods, but they usually try to release them further down the line,
He's sick there.
so they don't come back right away.
Bring them to
Well-
another town.
Yeah, give them somebody else.
There were some baby cats identified, too.
Ah, that's a
So-
shame then, because then they're just
The
propagating.
sad thing is a feral cat's usually a cat that somebody decided they didn't want no more
Yeah.
and let it loose.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Is there anyone else tonight? If not, do we have a
Make a
motion?
motion to close the public portion?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We do have a closed session. I'll read the
Thank you, Pat.
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Borough of Spotswood, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey as follows. 1, the public shall be excluded from discussion of any action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Personnel. It is anticipated at this time that this above stated subject matter shall be made public and confidentiality is no longer required. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
Make a motion to pass the resolution?
Second it.
Second.
Councilman Stolen?
Yes.
Councilman Ritchie?
He stepped out.
Oh, he's not here.
Stepped out.
Councilman Ritchie, say yes.
Yes.
Councilman Malillo?
Yes.
Councilman Rivera?
Yes.
Council President Rhodes?
Yes.
And at the end of the closed session, there will be no action taken.
Okay, everybody, I just want to highlight two things. PTA Tricky Tray, April 28th. It's always a fun time, lots of great prizes. And the casino night for Spotswood Education Foundation on March 3rd, Saturday night. Both great great organizations. And thank you. You cannot stay. You can wait outside, and then you can come back in when we open again. Thank you.
Okay. I make a motion, we close the close, reopen the open?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, whatever.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second it.
Is there anybody out there?
I don't know.
I told you it would be
short.